Mr. Navalny returned to Russia even though he survived Novichok poisoning and he knew he could be imprisoned or maybe even his life would be in danger if he came back. But still he returned to Russia. Is that an act of bravery or an act of, let's say, madness in your opinion?
Look, I think every act of bravery has an element of madness, because when people put their life, at stake, for many outsiders, this looks like madness. Bravery means you defy obvious danger. It's a clear and present danger, but you believe that you have to do it. It's wrong to measure bravery by normal parameters. This is not, did he know, didn't he know, was he overconfident? He made the choice that I'm sure would be put in the books, in history books of Russia, as a turning point that signaled the end of Putin's dictatorship. It doesn't mean that Putin will collapse tomorrow, but what we see now is an agony. The agony could be long. The agony could be very dangerous. I always say that if you have a dinosaur dying with a huge body and a small brains, it's the outcome, when it falls on Earth could be terrible. Navalny's return sparked protests that had been concentrating in Russia. It's like there was so much lava boiling under the surface of the volcano. And what we saw now, those are the first, splashes. This is not yet, the full implosion, but we're heading in this direction. Navalny's return and the movie that he released about Putin's corruption, about his palace, and demonstrations that followed his arrest, revealed the truth about Putin's regime. The whole story, it's a myth that Putin was popular. I heard it so many times from politicians and political observers in the free world saying, yes, Putin maybe is bad, but he's popular. No, he's not popular. The young generation of Russia rejects Putin flatly. So 70% of those who protest on the streets were 35 years or younger. That means these people were born at the very end of the Soviet Union. They didn't go to Soviet school. Many of them were born in free Russia. Some of them were born even during Putin's rule. And they see no future with Putin. And that's the verdict.
In your opinion, is his life in danger, and how much so? Do you have faith he will, let's put it bluntly, come out alive out of Russian prison?
His life is in danger, period. Now, I don't think the regime now reached a point where they would like to eliminate him, because that will make him a symbol and a martyr. And it's, I think they still have some dose of realism left in Kremlin to recognize that eliminating Navalny physically does not eliminate the problem. It could make things even worse. But I don't believe that as long as Putin stays in power, Navalny will ever see the daylight outside of prison. I think they will lock him in prison for 2.5 years now, and then while he's in prison, they will accumulate more cases and will convict him for, I don't know, 10 years or so. So Navalny is behind bars. That's what we should recognize. Behind bars as long as Putin is in Kremlin. The moment Putin is out, Navalny is also out. So Navalny's health, Navalny's future, and Navalny's life very much depends on Putin's grip on power. If Putin stays in power and continues his rule in Russia, the chance of Navalny surviving his prison term will be always, diminishing.
Since the start of this protest movement, and since Navalny came back to Russia and was imprisoned immediately, you have been calling, and even before that, you have been calling for more and more energetic, more intense, targeted sanctions on Putin's cronies, allies, oligarchs in his circle of power and so on. Do you have faith that those measures by West and especially US can put enough pressure on Putin's regime to release Navalny maybe even before Putin leaves power?
Will they have an effect? Yes. Will it help to release Navalny? I don't know, because you just said it, you connected it to Putin. As long as Putin is getting weaker, Navalny's chances to get out of the jail getting better. That's very simple. Sanctions, real sanctions, not this, wishy-washy now, half measures. I mean, real targeted sanctions that can hurt Putin's cronies, Putin's oligarchs, Putin's security apparatus, and the companies they control. These sanctions can send a very, very strong signal, because at the end of the day, every dictator needs money. And as long as Putin has cash, and he has plenty of cash. Why? Because he has oil and gas, and Europe buys them. Since Putin, took over in 2000, it's Europe did absolutely nothing to diversify. But even after 2014, after Putin annexed Crimea, after Putin violated Russian international treaties and crossed the border of the neighboring country, so Europe did almost nothing, next to nothing, to look for other alternative sources of energy. And Germany even increased the amount of Russian gas it has been buying. And now we would see that despite all the pressure in Germany, Chancellor Merkel is very hesitant, but very powerful voices, both from ruling party, ruling coalition, CDU, Christian Democrats, and Social Democrats. You could see them saying, sanctions is something, but Nord Stream 2, we must keep it because it's good for German business. As long as you talk to Putin, mixing business and human rights, it means that it's only human rights, because Putin doesn't care about it. So it's only strong message from the free world could start making dents in Putin's armor. We saw a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, the head of European diplomacy, Josep Borrell, was in Moscow, and I think it was scandalous. He went there saying he would like to see Navalny, and of course they told him, so if you go there, make it conditional. Russia needs you there, so it was so simple. No, he went there, he listened to Lavrov, who was teaching him, it was also amazing. And Borrell was there just as a student listening to boss. And he left saying he couldn't meet Navalny. Yes, you couldn't because he didn't speak with the right language. And we all have hopes with new American administration, with Joe Biden and people he brought in. And it seems America is ready to recover its role as the leader of freedom. If America puts strong sanctions in place, I think there's a good chance Europe will follow.
Mr. Putin, his approval rating is falling in Russia. I think this year it fell to its lowest point, this or the last year. But still, it is fairly high in the rest of the world. For example, I looked it up. Gallup poll from 2017 shows that approval or favorable view of Putin in Croatia is as high as 52%. So 52% of Croatians have a favorable view of Mr. Putin. So what is the reason behind his popularity, in your opinion? Is he, in a way, winning the battle for hearts and minds between Russia and the West? Or we could even say a chess match with the West?
I wouldn't use chess metaphor because chess means you play by the rules. Yes. Unfortunately, people in Croatia, people in many European countries or in America, they have very limited sources to actually learn about true situation in Russia. So it's saying Putin is good, from afar is one story. Living under Putin in Russia is another story. Do you want to live in Putin's Russia? You saw what's happening now in the streets of Moscow. Do you like that? I think it's when people being asked, about Putin, as an image. Yeah, he's a strong leader, but it's very, very, it's separate from their daily lives. Then ask them if they want to experience what Russians have been experiencing. I think the numbers can change. And also, there was very, very little objective information about Russia. It's the Western media spend very little time in presenting Russia with true numbers, true picture of the living standards of Russian people. If you look at every number, every metric, so Russia is doing very, very poorly, considering the fact that it had so much money, trillions of dollars allocated from natural resources. So the gap, that's the one number that you can show, the gap between 10% of richest Russians and 10% of poorest. This is the coefficient. It's one of the worst in the world. The gap between rich and poor Russia is just, you can hardly find it in Africa.
Putin does have a kind of image as a sort of an anti-imperialist hero, like he's standing against the West, the US, the American global policing, interventions around the world, and lots of people in the West seem to like that image of Putin. Of course, RT and other Russian media in English language, they are, it seems, very successful at presenting that kind of narrative, that kind of propaganda. So why are they so successful in your opinion, and how can the West fight back against that kind of propaganda?
To fight back, you have to decide that you want to fight back. You cannot, fight back unless you have a political will. Now, you mentioned Russia Today. You can mention Sputnik. This is, those are not, media outlets. This is Putin's information army or disinformation army. Russia Today is the best financed television in the world. It's a conglomerate that had hundreds of millions of dollars invested every year. This is just, no other television. I mean, even look at Al Jazeera, for instance. They come even close to the amount of money that Putin spends there. By the way, in the last few years, Putin kept cutting money on healthcare, on social security, on housing, on education, but he always, increased spending on military, on security apparatus, and propaganda. Well, yeah, those are the facts. It's not I say. You can just simply look at the Russian budget, and this is official budget. And regarding the image, fighting, American imperialism. I mean, with Donald Trump, America retreated on every front, and it depends what kind of people you're asking. If you ask people from Aleppo, you remember the city Aleppo that has been carpet bombed with hundreds of thousands of people. Ask Syrians that have been bombed by Russian planes and gassed by Assad, who got Putin's full cover. Ask Ukrainians. Their country had been, just almost cut in pieces, and only heroic defense helped them to preserve, their independence. Oh, well, look, you can start asking a lot of people in the world, and they may have different opinion about Putin. This is not saying, oh, America is a policeman. Yeah, but if you don't have a policeman on the ground, so what happens? We can all argue about America's role here and there, but I don't recall America's doing what Putin did in Syria, for instance, or Putin's support of Iranian terrorist regime. If you look at the global map now, you look at Syria, Iran, North Korea, Africa like Libya, Sudan, Venezuela, that's another criminal narco-mafia regime of Maduro. You always find Putin fingerprints. So if this kind of stability you want, fine. I have no doubt, the moment Putin is out, we'll find out that Putin ran the most powerful global criminal syndicate ever witnessed on Earth.
For every Russian aggression or a crime or a scandal, there is a narrative that is being propagated. For example, you mentioned Syria. There is a narrative that the only opposition to Assad is ISIS or Islamic fundamentalists, and Assad is battling for Syrian sovereignty and so on. Ukraine, there is a narrative that the opposition are neo-Nazi, fascist, and so on. For example, for Mr. Navalny, the Kremlin is saying he's a CIA asset. And lots of people seem to buy into that. So
look, if you look, the propaganda always works, if your brains are switched off. So well, they can say CIA agent, Mossad agent, whatever. And it's, by the way, that's not the only one way, because, they have few parallel narratives now. This one is just for the Russian audience, for Channel 1, 9 o'clock news audience. But for Russian liberal audience, they say, oh, Navalny is a nationalist. Navalny. Yes. So it's this, but again, they don't care, as long as there's only one way to tell the truth, and there are many ways to lie. Now, neo-Nazis in Ukraine, this country elected a Jew as a president. Before they had a Jewish prime minister. Pause. Spend, 1 minute, 1 second thinking about it. They have a Jewish president, and this is a neo-Nazi country. Now, Crimea has been annexed. If you look at the whole story, Crimean people, they wanted nonsense, because all Russian presidents, Putin, first Yeltsin, and then Putin, then Medvedev is Putin's shadow there, they all signed tons of agreement with Ukraine, always recognizing Ukrainian sovereignty. Russia never made a single claim on Crimea. Never made it. There's not a single piece of paper that ever called for Crimean issue. Even Saddam Hussein, before invading Kuwait, if you remember that, he made a big fuss about British Empire dividing Iraq. He made some claims. No, Russia did. Putin simply annexed it. So and again, it's as for Syria, that's a classic way. You kill all all civilians who are opposing you, and when you keep killing normal people in the middle, you end up with ISIS. That's how dictators try to survive. They say, oh, we're bad, but somebody else is worse. The opposition to Assad was very reasonable from the very beginning. It was like in all other Arab countries. Syria is a very educated country, and he had no way of surviving unless Putin would be backing him. And the way to survive was to use chemical weapons. In 2013, Assad used chemical weapons, and America did nothing. The West did nothing. He gassed his people. And now he's in power because, again, he won the battle. This is classical way, you commit a crime, and then you commit another crime, and then you commit 10 more crimes. And the free world says, yeah, but, the battle is over. We have to deal with you. So that's a very bad lesson, you look at Maduro. Why Maduro is still in Venezuela? Why he's still there, though 80% of the country against him? Because he doesn't care. He can kill people. He has drug money, he has oil money, he has Russian backing and Chinese backing. And he can defy any opposition. Nazi also denied they did anything to the Jews. You have today many people who deny Holocaust. You always have people who deny facts because, again, it's always easy to say it's conspiracy. Yeah, but we have enough evidence. We saw what Assad did to these people. He used this gas not once, but many times. And Putin denies that he ordered assassination of Navalny. We don't know exactly whether he ordered it, but we know that Novichok was used. It was confirmed by a number of labs around the world. And this is, that was quite a new version of Novichok, and it could be developed only, inside, KGB. And from what I know about Soviet Union, Russia, and KGB, only the big boss could give an order to eliminate his top political opponent. And there was an investigation by Bellingcat. They even found these people. They actually, they're the names, but Putin doesn't care. It's, he says, no, we never did it. This is what he said after Crimea. His first reaction was, Russian troops never made to Crimea. It was just, the local uprising. 1 year later, he said, of course, with troops there. Because, he's a KGB guy. He believes that when he speaks, he must lie to cover his intentions.
Free speech, free internet. Isn't that kind of being used as a weapon by dictatorships like Putin's against the democracy, against the free world, against the West? And are they winning that battle? I mean, how can we defend against conspiracy theories that have never been more popular? Mainstream media has never been more hated, even, we could say, less trusted, and so on.
Look, by the way, if you want to win the war, you have to decide you are at war. And if one side is fighting the war, even with limited resources, it's as inferior forces, but it's fighting, as Putin has been doing. And the other side keeps talking about, oh, we have to find, common ground. We need to restore the dialogue. I can tell you who's winning. You have to recognize that we are the free world. We are at war with our enemies that want to spread chaos. Start, cutting the tentacles of this monster. Ukrainian president a few days ago signed a law to stop the transmission of 3 pro-Russian channels in Ukraine. That's the way. Stop this, cut the signal for Russia Today or Sputnik. I mean, recognize that those are not exercising freedom of speech. This is a propaganda machine. And, the moment the free world recognizes that we are at war, things will change very quickly, because Putin's strength is a reflection of the free world weakness. This is like in judo.
Trump-Russia collusion story. So Trump allies, they insist that it is a kind of conspiracy theory, it's a hoax. They are pointing out to Mueller report as proof there was no collusion, like Trump said, complete and total.
No, it didn't prove anything. It said, they just, they couldn't say it was a collusion. Mueller was very careful. Mueller mandate was very narrow, and he just, he didn't feel that he could go as far as convicting the sitting president of treason, but it left everything open. And as for the Trump's relations to Russia, personally,
what is it in your opinion? Yes, what is the relationship?
Trump has been KGB asset for many years. I think the connections between Trump and KGB could go as early as 80s. Again, those are, I'm not telling you I know for sure. That's what I could, deduct, it's like deductive method. So I look at the facts and I believe it could go as early as the 80s. We'll find out more. What I know that many times Trump was miraculously saved from bankruptcy by some massive infusion of funds. Where does the funds come? Why Trump's taxes are still, hidden from us? I want to know more about his donors, his sponsors, and his business partners. Look, Trump was involved in real estate. He had problems with women. He was involved in gambling. That's the classical portfolio of any KGB book. We'll find out more. I'm now quite happy that he's no longer in charge. But look at the last 4 years. If Trump were not Putin's agent, what he would do different? So he basically gave Putin every opportunity to shine and to escape sanctions or any problem. But I think it's not just Putin. Trump genuinely admired dictators. You saw him talking to Xi Jinping from China, to Kim Jong-un from Korea, Erdogan, Putin. It's this is a way Trump always felt comfortable. And to the contrary, when he spoke to democratic leaders in Europe, for instance, you could feel that Trump he was not comfortable at all.
Yes. There is an ex-KGB agent, I think his name is Yuri Shvets, and he claims that Mr. Trump was KGB asset from the 80s or even 70s.
I'm saying it's a serious accusation yet to be proven. That's what I believe by looking at Trump's biography, by these facts. But I'm sure the truth will come out. And first of all, I want for all of us to see Trump's taxes and all his transactions. That had been kept secret from American public and from the world.
Protests in Belarus, they have been going on for months now. I think 8 months even. But Lukashenko regime is still in place. Alexander Lukashenko hasn't been toppled. So how much hope can the Russian people have to topple Putin regime, which is far stronger than Lukashenko's?
But Lukashenko is there because of Putin. Putin is behind him, and that's why Lukashenko could survive the protests that put 75% of the country against him. Putin did two things. One, he secured financial survival of Lukashenko regime, and two, Putin's influence prevented Belarusian army to change sides, because with Putin there, so they just they felt they had to stay away from the clashes between riot police and protesters. So as long as Putin is in Kremlin, he has enough resources to keep Lukashenko in power. But again, we all know that Lukashenko is there because Putin thinks that he needs him. It's technically an independent country, but Lukashenko as a dictator depends entirely on Putin.
Do you think that Putin will rule until he lives? I mean,
no, we don't know. We don't know how long Putin will stay in power. That's bad news. The good news, Putin also doesn't know how he stays in power, because what we know that he will never leave power because of elections, because there are no elections in Russia. So he will leave Russia. He will leave power, when he will be overthrown. And I don't think that his physical life will be much longer than his political life.
In 2019, you helped organize the Croatia Grand Chess Tour in Zagreb, and world chess champion Magnus Carlsen won that tournament. So I'm hearing that Grand Chess Tour will return to Zagreb in July, from 5th to 12th of July.
It had to take place last year, because it's but of course, all the tournaments have been cancelled. We all hope that by July things will normalize. There's the fingers crossed, so we don't know. But Grand Chess Tour 2021 has announced events. It will start in Bucharest, the first event. Then it will move to Paris, and then it will be the third event will be in Croatia in July, and then there will be two more events in America in August. Magnus will also play in Zagreb. Okay. So it will be not a classical chess tournament, but it will be a rapid and blitz segment. I think there will be announcements from the organizers, from the government that is helping with local affairs, but also there will be and just we found a major sponsor that will help to cover most of the expenses, and unlike last year, like 2019, so because it's the rapid and blitz, most likely I'll play a blitz section. There's one seat for local players, a wild card, and our plan is that Šarić plays rapid sections 3 days, and I will play blitz 2 days, on the Croatian flag, of course.
Oh, okay. You will be playing. Yes.
Yeah, it's most likely. So I will be taking part in the blitz section for the last 2 days. So we'll be, Šarić and myself will represent Croatia. And it's okay for me. It's fun. I don't expect much, but I think it will help to promote chess in Croatia, and also it will make our fans happy.
Are you still trying to stay in shape, so to say, chess-wise?
Look, I know I do a lot of small chess events, appearances, training with rising stars. Kasparov Chess Foundation had this program. The last year, of course, everything was online. Yes. I mean, I know that it's just, it's every year is just, it's like cheaper piece by piece, because I don't have the same concentration, but I'm enjoying. I'm not looking for big results. So this, it's fun, and people also like, just seeing me playing. And again, I have no big ambitions. And I spend more time on the organizational side now. We just yesterday we finished Kasparov Chess Foundation University Cup. That was the first global event for universities. There were 7 teams from Croatia, so it's and there were 124 teams from all 6 continents. And it's a 2 days event, and it was amazing to watch people, playing all the way now from Philippines to San Francisco. So that's And that's what I believe is now. It's what's happening with chess now, because pandemics forced everything to go online. But for chess, I wouldn't say it's a blessing, but chess, suffered less than physical sports. Somehow we even found sort of new life by being online and by bringing more people in.
Well, of course, there's Queen's Gambit too, right? That made a kind of revival in chess.
Pandemics helped tremendously to promote this series, which was great series, and I think the Scott Frank, my friend Scott, and his team did tremendous job, and I was very happy to assist them in guaranteeing the quality of chess, but also to help them to present the flavor of Soviet style life that was instrumental for the last segment.
Right. So in July, Magnus Carlsen and Gari Kasparov. I think that will be a treat for.
Yeah. Okay. That will definitely that it's again. I hope we all will be vaccinated. We all be able to return to normalcy, and then in Zagreb in July we'll have fun.
Yes, I'm sure.